In theory, you can fit whatever group set you want to almost any bike because they make enough adapters. There are some definite rules to live by to make sure you get what I'd consider to be the optimum performance. So in this video, I want to talk through the three major brands, SRAM, Campagnolo and Shimano, and then the bottom bracket standards that may come with your frame, because there's definitely some choices to be made here. And this is important because as axle width has become wider and wider, now we have BB30 and DUB for instance, the hole inside your actual frame has stayed pretty much the same size, which means there's been all sorts of compromises with bearings. And as such, we've come across situations where things work really, really well and situations that just don't work, and you're always going to get a pretty substandard experience. So if you're building a frame from scratch and you're wondering what group set to fit, or if you definitely want your favorite group set and you're wondering what frame to get based on what bottom bracket's going to work best, this is what we're going to cover in this video. Okay, we're going to start with an easy one, which is Shimano. Shimano is probably the most popular group set on the planet, and it has 24mm axles on the Hollowtech system. I know there's still square taper and stuff out there, but most of you watching this are going to be familiar with this 24mm size. And the Shimano system really does work best when you have either a BSA or an Italian threaded bottom bracket like this, where the bearings sit outboard and they're all nicely integrated like this. Or it works really well when you have a PF41, because the bearings can be kept inside this plastic shell, and actually this bottom bracket works really well for the PF41 standard. There's enough compliance in this material to really make sure that you get a pretty good bottom bracket experience out of these. There's not really a need to upgrade this to anything fancier unless you have a problem. In fact, the Giant you can see right here is PF41 fitted up with an Ultegra bottom bracket. 105 cranks is going to be a fantastic experience, and it doesn't have to cost you loads and loads of money. There is one little caveat to that, and we always get asked about it. What about the famous Hambini bottom bracket? Well, these are fantastic if you have problems. These are great at solving problems, and if you really do want optimal bearing position, but if the frame's made well, you're good to go with this. What doesn't necessarily work well with Shimano are the really big bottom bracket standards. So when we have things like T47, BB386 Evo, PF30, we have an opposite problem where we need to start putting adapters in. So here is a good example. This is a T47 internal, which has been stepped down to a 24mm hole on the inside, and you end up with a fairly chunky piece of aluminium inside your bike. And you compare that to the weight of a nice plastic BB that you could have had like this. You could have paid thousands of pounds in upgrades to do that, when essentially all you needed was a plastic bottom bracket. Probably cost 35 quid. All right, quick sidebar. If you do end up running big chunky adapters like this, sometimes it's actually better to try and find a bottom bracket solution which has got a BB30 size, because this runs a standard 6806 bearing, and then you can pick up top hats like this that step down, and this actually makes for a really good 24mm conversion. But I think we'll cover that again in another tutorial. Let's pick off an easy one and pick up the Campagnolo Ultra Torque system. Now, Ultra Torque use a Herf joint sat here, fantastically well made cranksets, 28mm, but the bearings are fitted already onto the crank, so you don't have a lot of choice. You can't buy a different bearing size. You have to do this system. And as such, the best bottom bracket solution for anyone running Campagnolo is just to fit a standard Campagnolo bottom bracket with whatever is going to suit your frame. So here is the Campagnolo one for T47, and you can see no bearings are in here at all because the bearings are attached to the crankset. Here is one for BSA. You can see no bearings. And it's the same on the non-drive side as well. So probably the best solution, dead easy. If you're fitting Campagnolo, you have to have a really, really good reason not to fit a Campagnolo bottom bracket at the same time, and nearly all of them fitting all frames are pretty sound. Right, lastly, things get a whole lot more complicated when we consider SRAM Dub. First of all, you'll notice that the actual axle spindles on the non-drive side, so unlike Campagnolo where it meets in the middle and Shimano's on the drive side, Dub uses everything on the drive side. We also have Dub and Dub wide to contend with as well. The Dub wide stand is to make sure that we can still maintain a chain line when we're running wider tyres, so there's more room there for the front derailleur to do its thing and not impact on the tyre. So these run a 29mm axle. So normally when that 6806 bearing that we talked about, you have to step it down to 29mm using a top cap like this. See, very, very thin. Squeezing a BB30 or a dub axle into a very small 41mm hole like you find on something like this Giant can be really problematic because the bearings get really, really, really skinny. And anyone running this combination, I'm pretty sure down in the comments you'll let everybody know how appalling that works, because the bearings are so small. It's very, very hard to achieve any sort of alignment because there's just no compliance to help you out at all. So really, if you want to fit a SRAM Dub system, you want to be looking for a frame that has either a 46mm hole, that means PF30 or BB386 Evo. BB30 would just about be okay, or you pick up something with T47, any of those are okay. A slight caveat, if you do have BSA, then you'll notice that the bearings do fit outboard. But even on these SRAM bottom brackets here, the bearings are actually still very, very small compared to what we're used to seeing. So this is my preferred T47 on SRAM Dub, works fantastically well, and actually the stock SRAM bottom brackets are a really, really good choice. We also like working with rotor as well. I think you get a really good tool engagement on here. So when you are trying to crank these up to 40 Newton meters on such a very skinny flange, that you've got really, really good tool engagement. Other solutions for this are the thread together situation like this one from Enduro. And this one works really well if you're not sure about the concentricity of your bottom bracket or the actual hole itself has become a bit oversized. These are a great problem solver, but not necessarily my go-to. So the key takeaway from this video really is, if you want to run a SRAM group set or anything with BB30, even though that's not that popular anymore, really look for a frame that has a larger diameter bottom bracket. So that's BB386 Evo, PF30 or T47. Any of those three things, you're going to get a great experience on SRAM Dub. Much smaller than that, it will work. BSA is okay. Try and stay away from it though. For Shimano, you've got loads and loads of options, but just bear in mind that you may be adding quite a lot of additional weight in order to step down the bottom bracket to whatever you need. And for Campag, just stick with good old Campag. If you want more helpful videos like this from a real mechanic working with real things to help you make good choices when picking up parts for your bikes, please consider subscribing to the channel. We've got loads more of this stuff on our channel for you to get your teeth into. If you've got more comments to add, please get them down there. With this whole system, there are literally endless possibilities. So if you've had a good experience, bad experience, get down there in the comments, let the whole community know what you've learned along the way. All right, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.